AITA for leaving my wife after she called me her safety net and rebuilding my life. I'm Charles, 38, and for a long time, I thought being the steady husband was something to be proud of. I was the guy who remembered which bills were due, fixed the loose cabinet door without making a speech about it, drove home when everyone else had just one more drink, and made coffee on Sunday mornings even when my wife, Emma, was still mad at me from the night before. I didn't think that made me boring. I thought it made me someone she could count on. The problem was, somewhere along the way, Emma stopped treating that like love and started treating it like a weakness everyone was allowed to laugh at. When Emma and I first got married, I really did think I was lucky. She had this way of making every room feel alive. If we had 3 people over for dinner, she turned it into a little event. If there was a holiday coming, she had candles, playlists, snacks, and a plan before I even realized the month had changed. She was the one who pulled me into conversations when I would have stayed quiet. She made ordinary weekends feel like something worth remembering. I liked that about her. I liked that she had energy I didn't always have. I liked that our home felt full when she was around. Her friends came with the package. Mia was her closest friend, loud and sharp, and always performing like there was an audience even when there were only 4 people in the kitchen. Josh was the kind of guy who repeated the joke that got the biggest laugh, even if it wasn't his joke, and even if someone else had to bleed for it. Nicole was quieter. She laughed sometimes, but there was usually a delay, like she was deciding whether she wanted to be part of it. At first, I thought they liked me, or at least I thought they accepted me. They came over for barbecues, game nights, and brunches that started at noon and somehow stretched into dinner. I grilled while Emma set out chips and drinks. I hauled folding chairs from the garage. I took trash bags out when they got too full. I washed glasses after everyone left because Emma was tired from hosting, and I did it without keeping score. That was marriage to me. You do what needs doing because you love the person standing next to you. The jokes started small. One Sunday brunch, Mia lifted her mimosa toward me and said, "Charles is safe. Safe is good. Every wild girl needs one safe decision." Everyone laughed. I gave a little laugh too, because what was I supposed to do? Make a scene over the word safe? Emma squeezed my arm and said, "He knows we love him." I remember looking down at her hand on my sleeve and telling myself not to be dramatic. Safe wasn't bad. Reliable wasn't bad. Maybe Mia just meant I was dependable. Maybe I was hearing it wrong. Later that night, when the dishes were drying in the rack and Emma was scrolling through her phone on the couch, I said, "That safe decision thing was kind of weird." She didn't look up. "Oh my God, Charles. It was a joke." "I know. I'm just saying it didn't feel great. They tease you because they like you." That didn't sound like liking me. That time, she looked up. Not concerned. Annoyed. "Please don't make brunch weird retroactively." I let it go. That was one of my biggest mistakes. Not because one joke should have ended a marriage, but because my silence taught Emma something. It taught her that if she dismissed me fast enough, I would back off to keep the peace. After that, safe became a theme. If Emma wanted to go out, and I reminded her we already had plans with her parents, Mia would say, "Oh, the safety officer is on duty." If I asked whether people had rides before opening another bottle of wine, Josh would grin and say, "Charles is doing dad patrol again." At a backyard barbecue, I was standing by the grill sweating through my shirt while everyone else sat in the shade. Mia watched me flip burgers and said, "See, this is why you marry a Charles. He's not thrilling, but he's functional." Emma laughed so hard she put her cup down. I remember that detail because it was the first time I felt embarrassed in my own backyard. I looked at Emma, waiting for her to say something like, "Okay, enough." Instead, she wiped at the corner of her eye and said, "He is very functional." The table laughed again. I turned back to the grill because the burgers were burning. That night, after the last person left and the patio smelled like charcoal and spilled beer, I tied up 2 trash bags while Emma sat at the kitchen island looking at pictures from the barbecue. "Can you not join in when they talk about me like that?" I asked. She sighed like I had interrupted something important. "Charles, they joke with everyone." "No, they don't." "Yes, they do. They don't call Josh functional. They don't call me a safe like it's an insult." Emma set her phone down. "What do you want me to do? Police every sentence. I want you to not enjoy it when your friends make me feel small." For a second, her face changed. It wasn't guilt exactly. More like she had been caught standing too close to something ugly. Then she rolled her eyes. You're too sensitive when you're tired. I slept badly that night. Emma slept fine. The next few months were full of little moments like that. Nothing huge enough on its own to point at and say, this is why I left. Just a slow drip of disrespect that Emma kept telling me was harmless. She added plans to our shared calendar without asking. Drinks with Mia on Thursday. Dinner with the group on Saturday. Brunch on Sunday. A weekend rental 2 months out with a note that said, deposit due Friday. Like she had already discussed it with me when she hadn't. When I asked about the rental, she said, I thought you'd be excited. We never do anything fun anymore. We do plenty, I said. But you can't promise people I'll pay a deposit before talking to me. She leaned against the counter and crossed her arms. There it is. There what is? The money lecture. It's not a lecture. It's a question. It always turns into a lecture. I paid the deposit anyway. I told myself I was keeping the peace. I told myself marriage meant compromise. I told myself Emma would appreciate it once we got there and had a good weekend. She didn't appreciate it. She posted pictures of the place like she had made it happen by force of personality. Her friends commented with fire emojis, and Emma always delivers. Nobody knew that she had promised a rental before having the money for it, then handed me the problem like a bill slipped under a door. That started happening a lot. Group dinners were the worst. Emma's friends had expensive taste when someone else was quietly making sure the card didn't decline. People ordered appetizers for the table, cocktails they barely finished, and desserts they wanted 2 bites of. Then the check came, and suddenly everyone got vague. I'll Venmo you, Josh would say, already standing. Mia once tapped my shoulder and said, Charles, you're the numbers guy. Can you figure out who owes what? I did it. Every time. And half the Venmo requests sat unpaid unless I reminded people, which made me the awkward one. One night, after a dinner where Josh owed me $68 and sent 30 with a beer emoji, I said to Emma, I'm done fronting money for your friends. She was brushing her hair in the bathroom mirror. You make everything transactional. I'm asking adults to pay for their meals. They probably forgot. They never forget to order. She gave me that look again. The one that said I was being boring, small, difficult. Can you just not be like this tomorrow? Mia's having people over. Like what? Like you're keeping a spreadsheet of every human interaction. I didn't answer because there was nothing I could say that wouldn't turn into a fight. The first time Emma used something private as entertainment, I almost convinced myself it was accidental. We were at dinner with Mia, Josh, Nicole, and a couple of others. The restaurant was loud, the kind of place where the tables were too close together and everybody had to lean in to talk. Emma was telling a story about a time I got stressed because we had 3 big expenses hit in the same month. The water heater had gone out, her car needed repairs, and she had forgotten about an annual renewal that hit our account at the worst possible time. I had told Emma I felt like I couldn't breathe. I told her that in our kitchen at midnight, standing barefoot by the sink, because I thought she was the safest person in my life. At that dinner, she turned it into a bit. Charles looked at the bank account like it personally betrayed him, she said, laughing. He was pacing around like we were about to be living in a cardboard box. Josh laughed. Classic Charles. Emergency meeting because Netflix and a tire happened in the same week. My face got hot. I said quietly, that's not really how that went. Emma waved me off. I'm exaggerating. Relax. Nicole looked down at her plate. Mia grinned and said, no, I can picture it. Charles has major budget dad energy. I had told my wife that story because I trusted her, not because I wanted it performed between appetizers. On the drive home, I said, please don't use stuff I tell you privately as material. Emma stared out the passenger window. You're making it sound like I exposed some huge secret. It was personal to me. It was a funny story. It wasn't funny when I told it to you. She turned toward me then, irritated. Do you hear yourself? I can't even tell a story now. You can tell stories without making me the joke. She scoffed. You always think people are laughing at you. That sentence stayed with me because, by then, people were laughing at me. I just didn't want to believe my wife had given them permission. The group chat made it harder to ignore. Emma had it open all the time. The screen would light up while we watched TV. I'd see memes flash by. Boring husbands. Men holding calculators. Jokes about women marrying stability and texting excitement on the side. Nothing that had my name attached, but close enough that my stomach would tighten. Once, I walked into the kitchen while Emma was leaning over her phone, laughing. The second she saw me, the laugh stopped. She angled the phone away and locked the screen. What? I asked. Nothing. What was funny? Group chat stuff. About me? Her expression hardened. See, this is what I mean. You make everything about you. Maybe that would have worked on me a year earlier. Maybe I would have apologized for being insecure. But by then I had started noticing the pattern. The jokes had a life when I wasn't around. And Emma was feeding it. The dinner that changed everything happened on a Friday night. I almost didn't go. I was tired before we even left the house, not physically as much as emotionally. Emma had spent an hour getting ready while complaining that I was bringing down the energy. I was wearing the shirt she said looked best on me, though later I'd realize I had still been trying to be chosen by someone who had already made me into a punchline. At the restaurant, Mia was already loud before the appetizers arrived. Josh had ordered a drink with some ridiculous smoked presentation and kept waving the little glass dome around like he had invented fire. Nicole sat across from me and gave me a small smile. For a while, things were normal. Or normal for them. Mild teasing. Emma interrupting me 2 times. Mia calling me the responsible adult when I reminded Emma she had an early appointment the next morning. Then Josh leaned back in his chair, looked at me, and said, I mean, Charles is good enough to pay bills, not exciting enough to brag about. The table went off. Not a polite laugh. Not an awkward chuckle. A real laugh. Mia slapped the table. Someone said, Oh my God, Josh. Emma covered her mouth, but she was laughing too. I didn't look at Josh. I looked at my wife. That was the moment. I didn't need her to fight everyone. I didn't need a speech. I just needed one clear sign that I was her husband and not a prop in whatever performance she was putting on. Emma saw my face and, instead of stopping, she said, He knows I'm kidding when I say that. When I say that. The room kept moving around me, but something inside me went still. I realized she wasn't reacting to Josh's insult like it was new. She was recognizing it. She had said some version of it before. Maybe often. I finished dinner quietly. I paid only for my meal and Emma's, which made Mia blink when the check came. Josh said, Wait, aren't we splitting? I looked at him. You can split whatever you ordered. He laughed like he thought I was joking. I wasn't. In the car, Emma scrolled through her phone with sharp little taps. The radio was so low I could barely hear it. Streetlights crossed the windshield in pale bars. I kept replaying her sentence in my head. He knows I'm kidding when I say that. After 10 minutes, Emma said, Are you going to punish me with silence all the way home? I kept my eyes on the road. I'm thinking. About one dumb joke? No. She waited, then huffed. When we got home, she kicked off her heels by the door and headed toward the bedroom. I stayed in the kitchen. The house was quiet. There were 2 coffee mugs in the sink from that morning. A grocery list was stuck to the fridge with a magnet from some trip Emma liked to bring up when she wanted to sound spontaneous. I said, Do you respect me when I'm not in the room? Emma stopped. She didn't turn around right away. What? I repeated it. Do you respect me when I'm not in the room? She turned slowly, like I had just accused her of something outrageous. Charles, I am not doing this tonight. I'm asking a simple question. No, you're trying to start a fight. I'm asking because Josh said I'm good enough to pay bills, but not exciting enough to brag about. And you said I know you're kidding when you say that. Not when he says that. When you say that. Her mouth tightened. You're twisting my words. I heard your words. It was a joke. Do you say that about me? She threw her hands up. Everyone vents about their spouse. That wasn't venting. Oh my God. You're acting like I stood up and gave a speech about you. You let them humiliate me. They did not humiliate you. You're humiliating yourself by being this fragile. I felt my jaw tighten, but I didn't raise my voice. I'm not asking your friends to like me, I said. I'm asking why my wife enjoys watching them disrespect me. That landed. I saw it land. Then she stepped over it. Maybe if you were more interesting, people wouldn't joke like that. The room went quiet in a way I can still remember. The refrigerator hummed. Somewhere outside, a car door shut. Emma looked almost surprised at herself, but not sorry enough to take it back. I nodded once. She said, Charles. No, I understand. You're being dramatic. No, I said. I'm done being confused. I slept in the guest room that night. I didn't do it to make a point. I did it because lying next to her felt like volunteering for another performance. The next morning, Emma acted like nothing serious had happened. She made coffee badly, which she only did when she wanted credit for trying. She slid a mug toward me and said, "Can we not make last night into a whole thing?" I looked at the mug. "It already is a whole thing." She laughed under her breath. "You are exhausting when you get like this." I didn't answer. That was the day I stopped trying to convince Emma to respect me and started paying attention. I checked our shared calendar and found 3 plans she had added without telling me. One was a dinner I had apparently agreed to host. One was a birthday brunch for Mia where Emma had marked Charles' pickup cake. The third was the weekend rental, now with a second payment due. I looked through our recent expenses. Dinners. Rideshares Emma said she needed because she stayed out later than planned. Deposits. Decorations. A subscription service for party supplies I hadn't even known we had. My card was attached to accounts I didn't use. Then I started saving things. Not hacking. Not snooping through locked devices. Just the things in front of me. Texts Emma sent me asking for money after promising plans. Screenshots of shared calendar entries she made without asking. Venmo requests I had sent that went unpaid. Receipts from dinners where I had covered the table after everyone joked about me being the responsible one. I also started saying no. The first real no was the cake. Emma came into the living room with her phone in her hand and said, "Can you grab Mia's cake tomorrow? It's paid for." "By who?" She blinked. "What? Who paid for it?" She looked annoyed. "I was going to put it on your card and pay you back." No. It's just a cake. Then it should be easy for you to handle." Her face went cold. "You're really going to be petty because of a joke?" "I'm not picking up the cake." "You're embarrassing me." "No," I said. "I'm stopping the sponsorship." She stared at me like I had slapped her. That was when I understood how much of her social life had quietly been resting on my willingness to absorb inconvenience without making her look bad. A few nights later, Nicole texted me after midnight. I was awake in the guest room, staring at the ceiling, listening to Emma move around in the bedroom like she wanted me to come apologize for not apologizing. My phone buzzed on the nightstand. Nicole's message said, "I should have said something earlier." I sat up. Another message came through. "I'm not sending this to start drama. I'm sending it because you deserve to know." Then the screenshots came. The first one was from Emma's group chat. I knew from the names at the top: Emma, Mia, Josh, Nicole, and a few others. The conversation was about the dinner where Josh had made the bills comment. Mia had written, "Charles looked like someone unplugged his battery." Josh wrote, "Did I go too far, lol?" Emma replied, "Don't worry, Charles won't do anything. He never does." I read that line maybe 15 times. Not because I didn't understand it, because I understood it too well. There were more. Emma had written, "He needs me more than I need him. He acts annoyed, but he'd be lost if I actually stopped pulling him into life." Mia wrote, "Safe husband syndrome." Emma replied with laughing emojis. In another screenshot, Emma claimed I was weird about money and controlling with spending, in the same thread where she asked, "Can someone remind me to have Charles cover the rental deposit Friday? I already told everyone it's handled." Josh wrote, "The accountant king will provide." Emma replied, "He always does," after a little speech. My hands felt cold. I kept scrolling. There were jokes about me being too serious, too predictable, too attached to routines. Emma had told them I got insecure when she was too social. She had made it sound like I was a dull, needy husband who tried to limit her because I couldn't keep up. In reality, I was the one driving her friends home when they got too drunk. I was the one paying deposits she promised without checking our account. I was the one cleaning our kitchen at 1 in the morning while she posted photos of the perfect night. I was the one covering for her when she overcommit and then panicked privately. She wasn't venting. She was writing a character for me and teaching everyone how to play along. Nicole sent one final message. "I'm sorry. I know I should have said something sooner." I stared at the screen for a long time before typing back. "Thank you for telling me." That was all. I didn't wake Emma up. I didn't throw the phone. I didn't take screenshots and post them anywhere. I saved everything to a folder and lay back down in the dark. I didn't become cold that night. I became clear. Over the next week, I made quiet changes. I opened a separate account for my paycheck. I changed the card on anything that was mine and removed mine from anything that was clearly Emma's social spending. I canceled the party supply subscription. I removed my card from a couple of delivery apps Emma used for group orders. I separated our streaming accounts because I was tired of paying for 5 profiles belonging to people who thought I was a joke. I did not stop paying shared obligations. I didn't play games with necessary bills. I paid my legal share of what I was supposed to pay, and I documented everything. But the extras ended. When the second payment for the weekend rental came due, Emma walked into the kitchen and said, "The card didn't go through." I was making coffee. "I know." She frowned. "What does that mean?" "It means my card isn't on that account anymore." "Why would you do that?" "Because I didn't agree to pay for the rental. We already invited everyone." "You invited everyone." Her voice sharpened. "So what? You're punishing me financially now." "No, I'm not punishing you. I'm removing myself from the job you mocked me for doing." She laughed, but it was brittle. "You're trying to control me. You can still go." "How, Charles? You can pay for it." Her mouth opened, then closed. There it was. The truth neither of us said out loud. The life she bragged about wasn't impossible without me, but it was a lot harder when she had to fund it herself. The weekend rental got canceled. Emma told everyone it was because I was being weird. Mia sent a message in the group chat that Nicole later forwarded to me. I thought Charles handled that stuff. For some reason, that one almost made me laugh. The next gathering Emma expected me to attend was at Mia's apartment. She came out of the bedroom dressed up and said, "We're leaving in 10. "I'm not going." She turned around. "Excuse me. I'm not going. You can't just skip everything because you're mad. I can skip rooms where I'm treated like a punchline. You're making me look bad. You did that before I stopped helping." Her eyes narrowed. "So this is who you are now?" "No," I said. "This is who I am when I have the information." She left without me. At 11:47 that night, she called. I let it ring once before answering. "Are you okay? We need a ride." I closed my eyes. "Call a rideshare." "It's surging." "Then wait." "Charles, don't be an ass. I'm not your designated driver tonight. You always pick us up." "I know." There was noise behind her. Mia's voice. Josh laughing. Emma lowered her voice. "You're really going to embarrass me like this?" "You wanted me out of the joke," I said. "I'm out of the room too." I hung up before she could answer. That was the first night I realized peace had a sound. It sounded like my house staying quiet after I said no. Emma tried different tactics after that. First, she was angry. Then she was wounded. Then she became calm in a way that felt rehearsed. "You're isolating me from my friends," she said one evening, standing in the doorway of the guest room where I had started sleeping most nights. "I haven't told you not to see anyone. You're making it impossible." "No, I'm making it self-funded. You know how that sounds, right?" "Yes," I said. "It sounds like I stopped paying for people who disrespect me." She folded her arms. "You've changed." "I hope so." That made her angrier than if I had yelled. I met with a divorce attorney 2 weeks later. I didn't tell Emma before I went because I wasn't going there to threaten her. I needed to understand what leaving would actually look like. I brought account statements, receipts, copies of shared bills, and screenshots of texts where Emma asked me to cover things. The attorney was calm and practical. No drama, no revenge speech, just information. When I walked out, I sat in my car for a few minutes with my hands on the wheel. I was sadder than I expected. People think clarity kills grief. It doesn't. It just gives grief a map. I still remembered the Emma who danced barefoot in our kitchen while pasta boiled over. I remembered her falling asleep on my shoulder during movies she had insisted on choosing. I remembered the first time she told me she felt safe with me, before she turned safe into something ugly. But I also remembered the screenshots. "Don't worry, Charles won't do anything. He never does." She had mistaken patience for dependence. She had mistaken loyalty for weakness. And honestly, for a while, maybe I had too. When Emma found a business card from the attorney in a drawer, she came into the kitchen holding it between 2 fingers like it was contaminated. "You're divorcing me?" "I'm preparing to separate." "After all this, you go straight to divorce?" I looked at her. "After all this?" Her face flushed. "You know what I mean." "I really don't. You didn't even try counseling." "I tried talking to you. You told me maybe people wouldn't joke about me if I were more interesting." She looked away. "That was one sentence." "No," I said. "That was the sentence that told the truth." She started crying then. I had seen Emma cry before. Sometimes it broke me immediately. This time I felt sad, but not moved. "There's a difference." "You're throwing us away," she said. "I'm leaving what you turned us into." She wiped her face hard. You don't get to embarrass me and then act like you're the victim. I almost laughed because there it was again. Not, I hurt you. Not, I'm sorry. Embarrass me. That was the crime in Emma's mind. Not betrayal. Exposure. After that, she moved faster than I expected. She called her mother, Elaine. She called her father, Richard. She told Mia, Josh, and everyone who would listen that I had become cold, insecure, financially controlling, and obsessed with making her look bad. She said I was punishing her because I couldn't take a joke. She said I was trying to isolate her from the people who loved her. The first call I got was from Elaine. Charles, she said, sounding tired before the conversation even started, I just don't understand how it got this far. Neither did I, for a long time. She says you've been cutting her off. I stopped paying for her social expenses. I'm still paying my share of necessary bills. Elaine paused. She made it sound different. I'm sure she did. I don't want to take sides. I'm not asking you to. But Emma was. That was the whole point. A few days later, Emma told me her parents wanted us both to come to dinner. She said it like a peace offering, but I knew her well enough by then. It wasn't just dinner. It was a room where she expected me to be pressured into apologizing. I'll go, I said. She looked surprised. You will? Yes. Good. Maybe everyone can talk calmly. I nodded. What she didn't know was that I had printed everything. Not because I wanted a dramatic reveal. I didn't want to hold my phone out while people squinted and argued that they couldn't see. I printed the screenshots Nicole sent. I printed text messages where I had privately asked Emma to stop letting people talk about me that way. I printed receipts from dinners, rental deposits, group expenses, and unpaid requests. I printed the shared calendar entries Emma created without asking me. I put them in a plain folder. On the night of the dinner, Emma barely spoke on the drive. She looked polished and tense, like someone about to give a presentation. I wore a plain sweater and kept both hands on the wheel. When we arrived, Elaine had set the table with paper napkins even though she usually used cloth ones for family dinners. That told me everything. She had known this would be uncomfortable and had quietly lowered the stakes wherever she could. Richard was at the end of the table, quiet as usual. Mia was there, which did not surprise me. Josh was too, which almost made me turn around and leave. Nicole sat near the far corner, hands folded around her water glass. Emma had brought backup. Dinner started with tense politeness. Salad sat half-eaten on plates. Forks scraped too loudly. Mia talked about a show nobody cared about. Josh made one weak joke and stopped when Richard didn't smile. Finally, Elaine put her napkin down and said, "Maybe everyone just needs to talk calmly." Emma took that as her cue. She inhaled slowly, the way people do when they want to sound reasonable. "I don't even recognize Charles lately," she said. "He's withdrawn, he's secretive, and he's been using money to punish me. I know he's upset about some jokes, but instead of communicating, he shut me out and started making me look like some terrible wife." I looked at her, then at the table. Mia nodded like she had been waiting for her part. "I mean, from the outside, it feels like a marriage issue that turned into a group issue. Charles, nobody was trying to destroy you." Josh lifted both hands. "I thought we were all joking." I said nothing yet. Emma's voice got softer. "He turned everything into evidence. Like I'm on trial for having friends." Richard looked at me. "Charles." I placed the folder on the table. Not hard, not dramatically, just flat against the wood. Emma's eyes dropped to it. "What is that?" she asked. "The reason I'm not going to sit here and let you lie about why I left." The room changed immediately. Elaine sat back. Mia's expression tightened. Josh looked at Emma first, which told me he knew enough to be worried. Nicole closed her eyes for half a second. I opened the folder. "You all laughed because you thought I didn't know?" I said. "I knew enough. I just wanted to see who would stop." Emma's face went pale with anger. "Charles, don't. You brought them here," I said. "You told the story. I'm correcting it." I handed the first page to Richard because he was the least likely to interrupt. It was the screenshot from after the dinner. "Mia." Charles looked like someone unplugged his battery. "Josh, did I go too far, lol?" "Emma, don't worry, Charles won't do anything. He never does." Richard read it. His jaw shifted once. Elaine leaned toward him. He passed it to her. Emma said quickly, "That is completely out of context." Nicole spoke before I could. "No, Emma. It wasn't." Everyone looked at her. Nicole's voice was quiet but steady. "I sent those to him. And that conversation wasn't out of context." Mia's mouth opened. "Nicole, seriously?" Nicole looked at her. Yes. Seriously. I handed over the next pages. Emma claiming I controlled what she spent. Emma joking that I needed her more than she needed me. Emma asking the same group to remind her to have me cover the rental deposit because she had already promised everyone it was handled. Receipts showing I paid for plans she later described as things I had restricted. Elaine's face changed page by page. At first, she looked confused, then embarrassed, then sad. Richard finally looked at Emma and asked, "Are these messages real?" Emma's lips parted. "They're real, but they're being twisted." I said, "They're in order." Mia shifted in her chair. I didn't know Emma was saying all that. I looked at her. "You knew enough to laugh." She looked away. Josh cleared his throat. "I didn't know it was that serious." "That was the problem," I said. "None of you needed it to be serious to enjoy it." The silence after that was heavier than yelling. Emma tried again. "So now you're humiliating me in front of my family?" "No," I said. "I'm showing them what you said after you told them I abandoned you. You did abandon me. I stopped funding the life you used to prove I was boring." Her eyes filled with tears, but this time no one rushed to rescue her. I turned to Elaine and Richard. "I'm not asking you to hate your daughter. I'm not asking anyone to pick me. But I won't carry a lie just because it's more comfortable for Emma." Elaine's voice was barely above a whisper. "Charles, I'm sorry we only heard one side." Richard didn't say much. He slid the papers back into a neat stack, tapped them once against the table, and looked at me. "I understand why you left," he said. It was not a dramatic line. It was not a hug, but it mattered. Emma stared at him like he had betrayed her. "Dad." He looked tired. "Emma, enough." Mia suddenly had somewhere else to be. She mumbled that this felt too personal and started gathering her purse. Josh followed her lead so fast, it almost would have been funny under different circumstances. Nicole stayed seated. As Mia passed me, she said, "This feels like a marriage issue, not a group issue." I looked at her. "Then you should have stayed out of my marriage when it was entertaining." She didn't answer. Emma cried in the kitchen while Elaine stood near her, not touching her. That was the part that told me Emma's image had cracked. Elaine loved her daughter, but she had seen enough to know comfort would become agreement. I gathered the folder. Emma followed me to the front door. "You planned this," she said. "No, you planned the dinner. I brought the truth. You wanted to destroy me. I wanted to stop being your excuse and your punchline at the same time." Her face twisted. "I loved you. I believe you loved what I made possible." She flinched like I had finally said the cruel thing. Maybe I had, but it was also the most honest thing I had said in months. I left alone. The aftermath was quieter than people expect revenge to be. There were no public posts from me. No dramatic announcement. No long message to the group. I gave my attorney what she needed and moved forward with the separation. Emma's version of events didn't disappear overnight, but it stopped traveling as easily. Her parents stopped calling to nudge me toward reconciliation. Elaine sent one message a week later that said, "I hope you're eating. I'm sorry again." I answered politely and left it there. Mia stopped commenting on Emma's posts for a while. Josh became suddenly neutral, which was the closest thing to shame he seemed capable of. A couple of people from the group unfollowed Emma, not because they had become better people overnight, but because her mess had started making them look bad too. That was its own kind of karma. The audience she built started leaving when the show made them uncomfortable. Nicole and I exchanged only a few messages after that. She apologized again. I told her I appreciated what she did, but I didn't need her to keep reporting back. I meant it. I didn't want to live with one foot still inside that group chat. I found a smaller place. The first night there, I unpacked 3 boxes and ate a sandwich standing at the counter because I hadn't found the plates yet. The kitchen was quiet. Too quiet at first. Then I realized quiet wasn't empty. It was mine. I bought a new coffee maker because Emma had kept the old one, even though she never learned to make coffee the way she liked it. I fixed a wobbly chair without anyone making a joke about me being useful. I hung one framed photo from a hiking day with my cousin. I lined up a few mismatched chairs around a small table and decided they were good enough. For the first few weeks, I expected loneliness to hit me like punishment. It did sometimes. Friday nights were strange. Grocery shopping for one felt pathetic until I realized I was buying only what I actually wanted. No extra snacks for people who dropped by and treated my house like a stage. No bottles of wine I didn't drink. No last-minute decorations charged to my card because Emma wanted everything to look effortless. I started saying yes to different things. A casual dinner with my cousin. A small hiking group. A neighbor who needed help carrying a shelf upstairs and later brought me store-bought brownies as a thank you. Nothing glamorous. Nothing that needed to be posted to prove it happened. That was how I met Lauren. She was a friend of a friend, and I noticed her because she listened without waiting for her turn to perform. The first time we talked for more than 10 minutes, I mentioned something small someone had said earlier, and she smiled. "You remember details?" she said. I braced for the joke before it came. It didn't. "That's rare," she added. "It's thoughtful." I didn't know what to do with that at first. A compliment with no hook in it. No little blade tucked under the handle. Lauren didn't become some perfect replacement for Emma. That's not how healing works, and I wasn't looking for a new woman to prove the old one wrong. She became a friend who invited me into rooms where nobody charged me an entry fee in self-respect. A few months after I moved, I had a small housewarming. I almost didn't call it that because the word made it sound bigger than it was. It was 6 people, pizza boxes on the counter, chips in bowls that didn't match, and a Bluetooth speaker playing low enough that nobody had to shout. My neighbor brought brownies from a grocery store and said, "I didn't bake, but I did choose the ones with frosting." I laughed because it was just nice. Not impressive. Not curated. Nice. People helped clean up without being asked. My cousin took out the trash on his way to his car. Lauren washed a few glasses while telling a story about getting lost on a trail. Nobody made a speech about me being dependable. Nobody called me safe like it was a life sentence. At some point, someone took a picture in the kitchen. I was standing near the counter, smiling at something my neighbor had said. The coffee maker was visible behind me. So were the mismatched chairs. The lighting was warm because one lamp in that place made everything look better than it had any right to. My cousin posted it with a simple caption, "Good night at Charles's new place." No flexing. No dramatic quote. No announcement that I was thriving. Just a picture. Emma saw it. Her text came the next morning. "So now you're living our dream life, just to hurt me?" I stared at it while my coffee brewed. A minute later, another one arrived. "You're acting like I never mattered." Then another. "You're living the life we planned and making me look replaceable." There was a time when those messages would have pulled me into a long explanation. I would have tried to reassure her, defend myself, and soften the truth until it became easier for her to swallow. I didn't do that anymore. I typed one reply. "No, Emma. I'm living the life I kept trying to build with someone who laughed at me for building it." Then I muted the conversation. The separation became final without a movie scene ending. There was paperwork, a few tense emails, a disagreement over furniture neither of us even liked that much, and one final box of Emma's things left by the door for pickup. She never gave me the apology I used to imagine. Not a real one. There were a few versions of, "I'm sorry you felt that way," and "I wish you had handled things differently," but nothing that touched the center of what happened. By then, I didn't need it. That surprised me. For a long time, I thought closure would have to come from Emma admitting she had hurt me. I thought I needed her to say, clearly and without defending herself, that she had taught people to disrespect me because it made her feel exciting by comparison. But closure didn't come from her mouth. It came from my front door closing after people left my house, and me not feeling smaller than I had before they arrived. It came from paying for things I chose, not things I was guilted into covering. It came from laughing without checking whether I was the joke. I still believe being steady is something to be proud of. I just don't offer it anymore to people who confuse steady with weak. Emma used to tell everyone I would never leave because I never did anything. She was wrong about that. I did the one thing she never thought I would do. I stopped trying to earn respect from someone who had been spending mine for laughs, and I never again became the punchline in someone else's story. If you like the stories, don't forget to leave a comment and support the channel by subscribing. See you in the upcoming stories.